From bustling Nairobi, this is World Questions Kenya. This East African powerhouse has much to boast about. A tech sector that's the envy of many in Africa. World-leading renewable energy production. A regional and international role with the only UN headquarters in the Southern Hemisphere. But its greatest asset, its people, is being wasted. 2/3 of young Kenyans are unemployed. A new generation has been protesting on the streets and met with violence. And allegations of state-sanctioned killings abound. Is freedom and future prosperity under threat in Kenya? Kenya has a lot of what the rich world wants. Young people hungry for work. But the jobs aren't here for the million or so who join the labour market every year. And too few proper jobs generates too little tax revenue to support the investment and spending the country needs. 1/3 of the budget is now spent servicing government debt. President William Ruto came to power 3 years ago promising bottom-up economics, rewarding people he called the hustlers who build businesses. But as he tried to raise taxes, he ran into street protests from a new generation that's deeply unhappy with the country's direction of travel and organising in new ways and across old divides to show their displeasure. With me to take questions from our audience on the way forward for Kenya is Silvanus Osoro, the Majority Chief Whip in the National Assembly of Kenya. He's representing his government on our panel tonight. Zaha Indimuli was one of the leaders of the women's rights protests at the start of the year and played a role in the Gen Z protests in June. She's the national advocacy lead for the End Femicide campaign. Martha Karua is a former Minister of Justice and presidential running mate of Raila Odinga. This year she formed her own opposition party, the People's Liberation Party, and declared her intention to run for the presidency in 2 years. This is a majority Christian country. A lot of people here regularly go to church. Our final panellist is Canon Evans Amolo, the Provost of All Saints, which is the Anglican Cathedral here in Nairobi. Your panel. Thank you. Let's go straight to our first question.
My name is Justus Ochieng. After the Gen Z protests of last year, there are concerns that political class has failed young Kenyans. To the panelists, what alternative model of leadership will you propose?
Thank you very much, Justus. There has been serious protests on the streets over the past few years, disorder and deaths. Demonstrations attended by a new generation, deeply dissatisfied by the status quo. The question, what alternative model of leadership do you propose? Canon Evans.
Thank you, Johnny. That's a brilliant question. It definitely is true that what we are witnessing currently politically is a disenfranchised younger population who genuinely feel let down by the political class. In Kenya, politics has been commercialized that you have to steal as much money as you can, then win an election. This then has meant that resources available that are meant to create jobs are being eaten by a few selfish people who want to enrich themselves. What model of leadership would I propose? From a Christian faith perspective, there is a leadership model called servant leadership. Servant leadership looks at the other people as a priority, and therefore resources are therefore channeled to improve the lives of other people. We don't lack models in Africa of servant leadership. The late Nelson Mandela did demonstrate that.
Thank you very much indeed. Martha Karua, leader of the opposition PLP. The question, what alternative model of leadership do you propose?
Simple. A leadership that embraces transparency and accountability. And that's what I believe the Gen Zs were demanding for. And a leadership in Kenya, such a leadership, is provided in the manual that we agreed should run our country. And that's our Constitution 2010. How to ensure that the people's needs and the basic needs of the people are met by the government, a leadership that is authentic, that has integrity, value-based leadership. And what we have done in this country is that we have abandoned the rule of law and constitutionalism. It's now anything goes. And that's why everything is so wrong.
Thank you. Zaha Indimuli, human rights campaigner. I mean, we are talking here about youth, Gen Z protests. We're talking about your generation, your friends, people like you who've been out on those protests as well. Is an alternative model of leadership required, or is it more a return, as Martha seems to suggest, to the first principles of the Constitution of 2010?
Well, I hear what Martha is saying, and I think she's been in the front line of this work for a very long time. But let's scrap it a bit, yeah? I think for me, a proper leadership would look at the fact that it's a leadership that eradicates the political elite. It's a leadership that eradicates the cliques and corrupt friends of the government. It's a leadership that allows the judiciary and the parliament to be independent. It's a leadership that separates the church from the state. It's a leadership that, with all those amazing proponents, recognizes that the utmost power belongs with the people.
Thank you very much indeed. Silvano Sosoro, speaking for the government. Is there a need for an alternative model of leadership? And is it true, as Martha Karua says, that the administration has walked away from the Constitution of 2010?
Activism and sounding politically correct sometimes and giving very sweet political statements sounds very sweet.
Please, let Silvano speak.
There is no problem with political leadership currently. The problem we have, and I really must say it, is that we also need to change our mindset. That imagination that the solution to our personal growth and personal life entirely lies on a political class, and that mindset that we are instilling on the young people is wrong. That you are taking a student to the university to study electrical engineering who can not be able to fix even a bulb in his house, and then you are blaming the government, for example, for not creating jobs.
Do you think essentially those who were out on the streets in 23, 24 and this year were just complaining too much?
We had, of course, different classes. There are issues that we've got to solve, but not entirely blaming it on the political class. My point is, putting the entire blame to the political class is like sitting down quietly in your house, not waking up and doing anything, and simply expecting some government somehow to create a miracle for you to sort out your entire problem. The solution does not lie on the political class.
Okay.
Change the mindset. The Constitution as it is being implemented very well and perfectly.
Okay, thank you very much. Very, very different opinions. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to hear from you. I heard a lot of groaning and sighing and some applause as well. Can I hear from you? First of all, lady right in the middle there. If we can get the microphone to you, madam.
My name is Angel Mbuthia, and one thing that I'd like to say is that I can see Mheshimiwa Silvanus has a lot of confidence. It is because in the last concluded by-election, out of the 23 posts that were open, government got 50% or even 70% of those seats. So government is still controlling the political space. I want to ask my fellow Kenyans, are you ready to go into this generational war that we're going into? Because number one, we are heckling here. We are not registered as voters. We are not members of political parties. We are not running for office. Are we serious about transforming our country? Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you. Madam, hello.
We are really tired of mediocre ideas and concepts being paddled to us. We have the internet, we have each other. We actually have ideas that we want. We just want a better Kenya.
Which idea do you have?
So, I didn't ask a question, I was told to say a statement.
It really is. It
and
is
your
just
statement,
an opinion now, sir.
you answered the question with mediocrity, and I'm telling you, we are tired. Am I wrong?
Okay. Thank you. Right, gentleman in the jacket and the red tie, sir.
My name is Clement. This is my opinion. You place all the blame in the government. You know, why do citizens gather all their resources and give them to government so that the government can sort the issues that are affecting us? If that's not the case, then disband the government. Let's everyone sort their own issues, you know.
Okay. Thank you. For those watching and listening, I should say the audience here is what you might call self-selecting. We don't sort it out in terms of politics or age. It's those who apply for tickets. I think it was a lady with the green. There we go. Yes.
I am Zanella Nyerere, and I would like to address Mr. Osoro. I'm not pleased by the way you're laughing at the situation that we are in as a country. And
hang on.
Yes.
You have Mr. Osoro. Sylvanus.
I don't know how you feel comfortable because you're in a suit and there's a kid that has no clothes and you're telling us the government that owes us nothing. You tell us that education is the key, and you don't want to give us the key. If you want us to be free and stop complaining, give us the key. And I want to remind you the next thing, what we are doing is in the Constitution, given to us by the great Raila Amolo Odinga. The Constitution says that all the power belongs to the people. So the questioning that we are doing, it is in the Constitution. We are allowed to question you morning to evening. So be ready. If you don't want to do the right thing, you better get out, or you do the right thing.
After 5 years.
Thank you. Sylvanus, hang on. Right. Hang on. First of all, there's been a lot of criticism. Of Sylvanus, and I want to give him a chance to reply.
In as much as we have challenges that we must admit, we also must admit that getting to where we want is work in progress. There is a need for collective effort from all sectors. I'm only against the mindset of people being invited to always think that their problem starts and ends in the political class. About 7-8 years ago, I was sitting within the audience speaking big like they're speaking. I've been in Parliament now for 2 terms.
So some people would find that a compliment. Okay, Sylvanus, I understand. We're done on this question. I'm going to move on to our next question. It comes from Harrison Uma.
Gentlemen, if I say people, you say power. People.
Power.
People.
Power.
Say it like you mean
Harrison,
people.
Harrison, can I ask you to put your question, please? Thank you.
My name is Harrison Ouma. I am a poet using arts to advocate for human rights. Please address the rising cases of abductions of my generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. Kenyan Human Rights Commission has listed 159 cases of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances in 2024. Abductions, of that number was 55 abductions, simple disappearances, in particular, I think, of young people. Zaha Imaduli.
We walk back to June 2024, where the first march was happening right after the Women's March, and we saw our siblings shot dead in Parliament Road. But directly to the point, abductions, extrajudicial killings. We have had activists, not only Kenyan activists, but Ugandans being abducted in Tanzania, and some politicians in Kenya saying when they're there, wanafaa wafinywe, which basically means they're supposed to be tortured. Abductions in Kenya have become rampant, and it's only because the government cannot take criticism, cannot want to actually level up and hear what young people are saying.
You are saying these abductions are carried out or allowed by the state?
Yes, Johnny. It's a fact that when the Kenyans continue to collectively come together to speak up for themselves because power belongs to them, state oppression and authoritarian regimes continue to do the same colonial narrative: abduct, kill, and disappear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Martha Karua, head of the opposition PLP party. Will you just address the rising cases of abduction, as Harrison asks?
In the case of 36 Ugandans, abducted from a hotel in Kisumu where they were having a workshop, July of last year. All members of Besigye's party renditioned to Uganda, charged in a military court. They were abducted by Ugandan security, aided and abetted by Kenyan security, and escorted to the border. The same script for Besigye and Lutale. We know Kenyan government admitted abducting 4 Turkish nationals who were registered in Kenya as refugees, renditioning them to Turkey. Remember, we have an extradition law. If any country needs to follow its citizen to Kenya, there has to be a formal request, and a court process. So abduction and rendition are not part of our laws. That's rogue behavior. Our own Gen Zs, we are in court in several cases where Gen Z were abducted, only released and dumped when the IG of police was due to appear in court, and the government denying that they abducted them, but the abductees swearing affidavits that it was indeed Kenyan security forces. This is pathetic. In a country where we have a constitution that protects our rights, and the government continues to display impunity by abducting, torturing, and disappearing its own citizens.
Thank you very much, Martha. Canon Amola, Provost of All Saints Cathedral.
It's actually a sad state. As a religious leader in the city and in this country, part of my role is to receive distress calls when such things happen. And both during the last year's protests and this year's protest, and several times in between here, I have had to deal with a lot of counseling situations of wives and mothers and brothers and sisters who call asking for help, both prayers and psycho-emotional support, because their loved ones were abducted. Later, I would have conversations once they are released with these very people. Some of them are my friends, members of our congregation, about their ordeal. One was detained for 10 days out in Kajiado, driven everywhere, and then dumped about 100 kilometers away somewhere. And it's a painful experience. My real call to security actors is that the Constitution of Kenya guarantees right to life. And scripture that I preach defines life as sacred. And Father goes on to say that no one has a right to take the life of another. It is only God who has that right, because he's the creator of life. And therefore, our call in this country and our neighbors, for especially the security actors and people who sanction actions by security actors, is the recognition of the sanctity of life, but also of the right to life as provided for in Article 26 of Kenya's Constitution.
Thank you very much. Silvana Sosoro, speaking for the government, not one of our panel here has disputed the idea or the allegation that there are state-sanctioned abductions of Kenyan citizens going on. Do you deny that there are state-sanctioned abductions being carried out in this country?
Listening to the panelists, you'll agree with me that they refer their citation to the 2024 Gen Z protest. Nobody's talking about last week. Nobody's talking about last month. Everybody's talking about, when we had the Gen Z protest in 2024, which again the government owned up then, that there were issues that happened within that period that were unique in 2024.
Sorry, may I ask you? I asked you a direct question, Silvanus.
You asked me the direct question.
I asked you a direct question, which was, do you deny what the rest of the panel all believe is the case, which is there are state-sanctioned abductions?
There are no state-sanctioned abductions. The beauty about democracy and the beauty about democracy is that you allow a person to speak at your point. I mean, really, you cannot force me to think your way. There are no state-sanctioned abductions. That is number one. Number two, what the opposition calls abductions, because they even cite cases that so-and-so was picked. Picked by who? Authorities. Then that is not an abduction. That is an arrest.
No, they have
Article
to have
49,
due process of law.
Article 49 of the
to be an
Constitution.
arrest.
No,
They do. They have to have due process of law. They have to have rights, don't they?
Exactly. That is what Article 39 provides for. That you get arrested, you are 49. You get arrested, you are told, you are taken to the police station. Of course, you are given the reason for the arrest. Okay. You are presented before a court of law. We agree that things happen.
Okay, you don't.
We agree that there are things,
Silvanus?
situations. We agree that there are situations that happened in 2024 June, which were unique, which again cannot entirely be blamed on government. When
you've made that point, Silvanus. You've made that point. You've made it very clearly. I'm going to let Zaha Indemuli respond to some of the points you made, if I may. Thank you very much.
I got to be limited to 3 minutes to respond with a shouting choir.
You've made.
making a lot of noise.
Sir, please leave it. Please leave it for the moment. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Kenyans.
Briefly, Zaha.
Kenyans.
Briefly.
Kenyans, can we breathe, yeah?
Thank you.
Now we know, right? So you've said the abductions happened, and my heart is broken because these are people's lives we're talking about.
Are we talking about
Let me
abductions?
Hang on,
finish.
Sylvanus.
Most of the abductions ended up in death. So yes, it is lives. And the
2024.
torture, let me finish. 2024 happened. Now let me bring you back to the recent. When was Boniface Mwangi and Agatha Tuire abducted? Just the other day. When was Bob Njagi?
Was arrested.
Sylvanus, please let Zaha make the point, okay?
When was Bob Njagi and Oyo abducted? The other day. What happened to Alberto Joang?
Arrested.
Okay.
So
I
you
think-
see, Johnny,
Arrested,
Johnny, and I'll make it very brief. This is the same government that got a demand from the High Court that police officers should be uniformed because these masked men who continue to abduct and kill young people were state sanctioned. And when we raised them, the government does not hold accountability because we cannot identify. But didn't we see them in the protest? And the High Court demanded that they are masked. So this is the same narrative that has costed the lives of Kenyans.
Okay. Zaha, thank you very much. Sylvanus, thank you as well for taking the criticism of the panel and the audience. Let us go to our next question, and it comes from Noah Malaba.
I want to ask this question. If 125 Kenyans hold more wealth than 43 million Kenyans, how can the economy support the well-being of the majority? What can happen to change outcome for those who survive to thrive?
You're citing, I think, a report from Oxfam Kenya this week with those figures, astonishing figures of inequality of wealth. It also said that half the population of Kenya lives in extreme poverty. Martha Karua.
There are many ways of overcoming those difficulties. One of them is taxation. Taxation should be structured such that the wealthiest pay the most tax. And everybody pays according to what they earn. Today, those who earn least are being taxed more. When you overtax the working class, especially the civil service, you don't provide them with the basics, health, education, infrastructure. You're making them pay for the services that supposedly they're supposed to be taxed for. So there are many ways of reorganizing, but I would start with taxation and ensuring that the money we collect as taxes is used for the best interests of the people, not to support flashy lifestyles of a tiny ruling elite.
Sylvanus Osoro.
First, I must admit that I haven't seen that report. I'm hearing it for the first time.
Okay.
Be that as it may, again, I challenge the Kenyan people, again, not to allow themselves to imagine that resources are some sort of a cake that is placed on the table, and you're told now pick a piece because somebody else has. Again, it's untrue that the tax regime is skewed towards favoring the rich or the wealthy. That is not true. It's untrue that the wealthy pay less. It's not fair that a few people are wealthy and others are poor. But let's separate this. Those who are wealthy, they are wealthy from what? Is it for their private hustle? We need to encourage industrialism, especially among the young people, creativity among the young people, and fighting for opportunities. I mean, you cannot be sleeping as though you're competing with the dead and you want to make it in the land of the living. Go out and work and hustle.
Okay.
But again, it's equal opportunity.
Understood. Thank you. I want to hear from our audience. Okay. Lots of thoughts on this one, I know. There's a lady over here in grey. Thank you. Madam.
Hi, my name is Abigail Aruka, and I think it's incredibly disrespectful to Kenyans to say something like, get up and work, don't sleep, as if Kenyans have been sleeping this whole time. We're just waiting to watch. That's not what we're doing. Also, it's very convenient to say that the rich are not taxed differently because if the rich own the banks, right, and they're not declaring all their wealth.
Gentleman in the jacket and tie right in front of me. That's right, sir, you.
Good evening. I want to say something. Majority Whip. I've gone after 4 years of degree. The money that is supposed to empower you goes to the State House budget. Yet you keep telling us, wake up, go and work. Where?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. You have taken a little bit of criticism, Sylvanus. So if you respond briefly, if you would. Thank you.
Just 30 seconds. I have run a manufacturing company making mattresses for 15 years, way before I joined the parliament, and it's growing over time. I haven't closed down. Again, I insist, there are so many opportunities that are around us in the country, especially even for the young people. Open your eyes, change your mindset, and be ready to learn.
Okay. Okay.
Be ready to learn.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I'm afraid that is it for World Questions Kenya. A big thank you. A huge thank you.